Today, I will discuss radio formats, another radio formats. Group discussion. A radio group discussion, also known as a panel discussion, is a format of radio programming where a group of individuals come together to discuss a specific topic or issue. It involves multiple participants, usually experts, professionals, or individuals with relevant knowledge or perspectives on the subject being discussed. Group is a collection of individuals who have regular contact and frequent interaction and who work together to achieve a common set of goals. Discussion is the process whereby two or more people exchange information or ideas in a face to face situation to achieve a goal. The goal or end product may be increased knowledge, agreement leading to action, disagreement leading to competition or resolution, or perhaps only a clearing of the air of a continuation of the status. Group discussion is a new trend that has come up in order to evaluate student personality. A student a group of participants are made to discuss on a topic or a subject for limited time then assessed. But that is the different form of discussion where students are selected on the basis of group discussion because on the basis of group discussion we can analyze the critical skills of the students. So that's why group discussion is very important aspect for media as well. In radio, there are so many group discussions held in evening or on the important topics or the current topics. So there are a lot of advantages of a group discussion. It helps to shed away the shyness of a candidate and brings his viewpoint amidst all. It stimulates to think in a different and new way. It helps the candidate in understanding his or her own strength and weakness. It acts as an aid in expansion of the knowledge of the participant. It helps to analyze the social or economic issues more logically. So, here we will discuss what should be done or what should be avoided at a group discussion. First point is that be as natural as possible. Do not try to someone you are not. Be yourself. In an attempt to be someone else, your opinions will not be portrayed. Sit with a straight and confident posture. Be assertive yet humble. You need to stick to your values and beliefs, but learn to respect the values and opinions of others too. Grab the opportunity to speak first, to start the group discussion with your opinion. It generally leaves a good impression on the evaluator, but take the move only if you have complete knowledge of the subject. Don't repeat a point or be lengthy or irrelevant. Also intervene if someone else is going to on irrelevant track. Facilitate contribution for others. Do not just go on and on and on with only your opinionated views. Make an eye contact with all the participants of the group discussion. It creates more room for conversation. Also keep nodding when others speak. Res- it shows receptivity. Be an active and dynamic participant. The examiner wants to hear you speak. So, this is for the group discussion where you are going to be selected or you are going somewhere to be like selected for on the basis of group discussion. But here we are discussing the group discussion in the context of radio, that how group discussions are held and what is that format where where any of the experts can come and they can discuss on the specific topic. So, first of all, there is introduction. The host introduces the topic and provides background information to set the context for the discussion. They introduce the participants, highlighting their areas of expertise or qualifications. Panelist opening statements. Each panelist is given an opportunity to make an opening statement or share their initial thoughts on the topic. This allows them to provide a brief introduction to their perspective or position. Discussion and exchange of ideas. The RJ facilitates the discussion by posing questions or topics related to the main theme. Panelists take turns expressing their views, offering insights, and engaging in a conversation with one another. The RJ may guide the conversation, ensure balanced participation, and encourage respectful dialogue. Point counterpoint. Panelists may have different opinions or viewpoints on certain aspects of the topic. This can lead to a point counterpoint exchange where panelists challenge or debate each other's perspective, providing different angles for listener to consider. What is the role of moderator? The host or moderator plays a crucial role in maintaining the flow of the discussion and discussion on track. They keep the conversation on track, intervene when necessary to ensure everyone has a chance to speak, and manage time constraints. Audience engagement. Depending on the format of the radio program, the host may incorporate audience engagement by taking calls, reading listeners' questions or comments, or engaging with the audience through social media. This allows listeners to participate in discussion by sharing their thoughts or posing questions to the panelist. Conclusion. Towards the end of the discussion, the host may summarize key points or highlight the main takeaways from the conversation. They may also provide an opportunity for each panelist to make closing remarks or offer final thoughts on the topic. Radio group discussions offer a platform for in depth exploration of a topic, showcasing diverse perspectives and encouraging critical thinking. They provide listeners with insights, analysis, and varying viewpoints on different and important issues, allowing them to develop a well rounded understanding of the subject matter. The format of radio group discussion can vary depending on the nature of the program, time constraints, and the number of panelists involved. It offers an engaging and informative way to address complex topics, foster dialogue, and stimulate thoughtful conversations on the airwaves. Another format is radio announcement. Radio announcement is a brief message or statement broadcasting on the radio to inform listeners about a specific event, news, promotion, or any other relevant information. Radio announcements are typically concise, clear, and delivered in a way that captures the attention of the audience. When it comes to including links in radio announcements, it is important to note that radio is an audio medium and listeners cannot directly click on the links as they would in a digital format. However, you can still provide information and direct listeners to take action in alternative ways. Here's an example of radio announcement and how you can incorporate relevant information. Including clear and concise information in your radio announcement helps engage listeners and encourages them to take the desired action. Another is radio news. Radio news refers to the broadcasted updates and reports on current events, news stories, and other relevant information delivered through radio programming. It serves as a primary source of news and keeps listeners informed about local, national, and international happenings. Here are some key aspects of radio news. News updates. Radio news typically includes regular updates throughout the day to keep listeners informed about the latest development. These updates cover a range of topics including politics, economy, social issues, sports, weather, and more. Breaking news. When significant events or breaking news occurs, radio news stations provide immediate coverage to relay important information to their audience. This may involve interrupting regular programming to provide real time updates and details. News reports. Radio news programs feature detailed reports on various news stories. These reports provide in depth coverage, analysis, and context to help listeners understand the background, implications, and significance. News segments. Radio news often incorporates specific segments dedicated to different topics, such as politics, business, health, entertainment, and more. These segments allow for focused coverage and exploration of specific subjects. Interviews. Radio news programs may conduct interviews with experts, journalists, policymakers, or individuals directly involved in news stories. These interviews provide additional insights, perspectives, and expert analysis on the issues being discussed. Weather updates. Weather reports are an integral part of radio news, providing listeners with forecast, current weather conditions, and any significant weather related alert or warnings. Local news. Radio news stations often prioritize local news, highlighting events, stories, and issues specific to the local community. This includes coverage, traffic, and travel updates. Many radio news programs provide regular traffic updates, informing listeners about congestion, accidents, road closures, and alternate routes. This helps commuters plan their journeys and navigate traffic more effectively. Radio news aims to deliver timely, accurate, and relevant information to listeners. It serves as a trusted source of news and plays a vital role in keeping the public informed about current affairs, enabling them to stay connected to the world around them. Now we will discuss the production of radio news bulletin. To understand the planning and production of radio news bulletins, we need to take a look at the working of the News Service Division of All India Radio, which handles all news bulletins and news related programs. The General News Bulletins of All India Radio calls GNR functions round the clock in 4 shifts and handles over 300 bulletins in 24 hours. Each shift is headed by editor in charge, assisted by a number of assistant editors, sub editors, and compilation editors. The editor in charge is in charge of the news desk where the news copies received from various sources are selected, edited, and rewritten. Every story earns its place in a radio bulletin on the basis of the news value. The usable stories emanating from within this country are placed in the home pool or pool 1, those from abroad in foreign pool or pool 2. There is sports pool, and on occasions like parliament session or elections, separate pools are formed. There is also an external pull to facilitate compilation of different external news bulletins. The pool system enables the compilation editor to prepare their bulletins without having to wade through the mass of news material coming from different sources. He or she selects stories from news pool and arranges them in a coherent order. He or she also selects the major stories for the lead and 3 4 stories for the headline, thus investing the bulletin and identity of its own. A normal radio bulletin is of 10-minute duration. However, there are also bulletins of 15 minutes and 5 minutes duration. A news bulletin begins with headlines followed by main news consisting of two bunches within a break in between and repeat of headlines main points at the end. A 15 minutes bulletin has two breaks while there is no break in a 5 minute bulletin. Bunching means the placement of items and it plays an important role in making the bulletin lively and interesting. The first bunch is generally packed with hard news. Of the four headlines in a 10-minute bulletin, one should invariably be on sports. A radio bulletin must have variety and should include political, economic, cultural, sports, science, and technology and other important items. Regional, national, and international events, parliamentary news, and important court cases should also find their due places in the bulletins. Weather and human interest items also need to be included. Continuity in the bulletins need to be ensured, and transition from one set of related items to the other should be smooth without jerks. In moving from one story to another, which is not connected with the previous one, the transition should be smooth. For example, the World Trade Fair opened in the sorry, the World Trade Fair opened in Delhi today, or in the Mumbai stock market today, or in the Wimbledon. The word meanwhile is also used appropriately to facilitate such determination of items. As far as possible, voice cast of correspondence or important events should be used. Radio, being a spoken medium, voice cast help to enliven the bulletin and break the monotony, thus make it lively and interesting. While giving a voice cast, a correspondent tries to take the listener on the scene. In an event like a big fire, floods, accidents, the correspondent gives a first hand account about what she saw and how it was being there on the site. The voice cast is ideally of 40 to 45-second duration. However, in some cases, it can go up to 1 minute. Mostly it is tape recorded, but it can also be live. A studio based voice cast can be edited tightly. Main bulletins. All India Radio broadcasts hourly news bulletins. There are, however, three main bulletins in English and Hindi, broadcast in the morning, afternoon, and evening. The morning bulletin in English is called the Morning News and Samachar Prabhat in Hindi. It is divided into three segments: the main news, a topical commentary, and look at the newspapers, and then finally the main points. The segment, A Look at the Newspapers, has been designed to provide the listener with an overview of the lead and other front page stories, editorials, and sports stories in the national dailies. The compiling editor is assisted by two editors. One looks after the segment on commentary, and the other a look at the newspapers. Main news 8 minutes, commentary 2.5 minutes, a look at the newspapers 2.5 minutes, headlines and signature tune 2 minutes. This is the generally breakup of 15-minute program is like. The day and evening bulletin cover all the major developments of the shift. The 5-minute duration 1800 hours bulletin in English and the 1805 hours bulletin in Hindi give a resume of important happenings during the day. They are treated as a preview of the 15 minutes Hindi and English bulletins and 8:45 and 9 o'clock. These bulletins give the listener a roundup of the major events of the day. These are hourly bulletins of 5 minutes. each giving the listeners the latest news. Another are language bulletins. Language bulletins broadcast from Delhi and regional stations are widely listened. You would be surprised to know that the listenership of these bulletins is much more than the combined listenership of all the English bulletins. The language bulletins broadcast from Delhi have a national character to give the listeners a feel of the important national and international events in his or her language. The bulletins, however, do include important regional items. The master copy is compiled in the general newsroom in English, and normally there is one script for each language bulletin. The compiling editor is required to ensure that the items of interest for a particular region and particular state are highlighted in the language bulletin of the region state. Sometimes, if the region item is very important, it can be lead or headline in that language bulletin. Another is external bulletins. The News Service Division of All India Radio broadcasts three types of external bulletins: English bulletins targeted at foreigners and Indians living abroad. Foreign language bulletins like Chinese, Burmese, Russians, and French for foreigners, and English and other languages bulletin for Indians living abroad. Indians languages such as Bengali, Tamil, Telugu, Punjabi, Sindhi, and Urdu are spoken in our neighborhood, and bulletins in these languages have a wide listenership. A common misconception among people is that external bulletins should carry more foreign news. In these days of satellite television, the notion we will be the first to break a news, say about African region to the people of the area, will be entirely misplaced, as other local sources are better equipped to tell them about the happenings in their regions. Others are specialized bulletins. The News Service Division broadcasts a couple of specialized bulletins. These include the Human Interest Bulletins and the Youth Bulletin, which generally carry soft stories. In addition, special weather bulletins are also broadcast for the benefit of various monitoring the expeditions. So, a radio news bulletin must have everything of the front page attention. The selected items are rewritten and edited for the bulletin. While editing, one has to be brief, as time is big constraint in radio bulletin. The target listeners of the news are also kept in mind while selecting the writing the news items. The news items are written in an inverted pyramid style with the climax in the lead. While writing a radio copy, the style book of the broadcasting station needs to be followed. Broadcast organizations all over the world have their own style rules for their copy. Style rules help the editors in producing a copy which has consistency and reflect the style and values of the organization. Another format is radio feature. Radio feature and documentaries are specialized forms of programming that go beyond regular news updates and provide in-depth explorations of specific topics or stories. They offer a more immersive and narrative-driven approach, allowing listeners to delve into subject, gain insights, and experience compelling storytelling through audio. A radio feature is a program segment that focuses on a particular theme, event, or story. It typically includes a mix of interviews, sound bites, narration, and ambient audio to engage listeners and provide a comprehensive understanding of the subject. Features can range from light-hearted and entertaining to thought-provoking and informative. Key characteristics of radio feature include storytelling. Features often employ storytelling techniques to engage listeners emotionally and captivate their attention. This involves creating narratives with a clear beginning, middle, and end, incorporating personal anecdotes and building suspense or intrigue. Interviews. Features often include interviews with relevant individuals such as experts, eyewitness, or people directly involved in the story. These interviews provide first hand accounts, insights, and expert analysis, adding depth and credibility to the feature. Soundscapes. Radio features utilize ambient sounds, background music, and sound effects to enhance the listening experience and create a sense of place. These audio elements help transport listeners to the story's setting and evoke emotions. Editing and production. Radio features involve careful editing and production to create a seamless and engaging listening experience. This includes selecting and arranging audio clips, adding narration, and incorporating music or sound effects to enhance the storytelling. Now, I will be discussing radio documentary. What is radio documentary? What are the points to be considered while producing documentary? What are the steps of writing documentary? First of all, I would like to discuss what is radio documentary. Radio documentary is a more extensive and in-depth exploration of a specific topic or issue. It often consists of multiple episodes or a longer program duration. Radio documentaries provide detailed analysis, investigative reporting, and comprehensive coverage of a subject. In the broadcast sense, documentary is any feature or program that is based on documents. Defined this way, it is a form directed towards presenting a factual record about real people, things, and events. It sets out not just to entertain, but to explore. However, any program that deals with factual information is not documentary. A documentary goes to step further or several steps further. What does a documentary do? It may attempt to persuade. This indeed was seen to be the function of documentary earlier on, till communication studies revealed that it was not so easy to persuade. A documentary could therefore be seen to persuade, communicate a message, or just provide insight. It may either advocate a solution to problem or simply articulate a problem. Whatever its intent, the social relevance of documentary is immense. Because documentary strives to influence people's thoughts and actions. It differs from other factual programs and is consequently charged with a strong emotional quality. Its purpose is not merely to report facts and events, but focus on the most moving examples. It is the compelling factor that gives documentary a sense of the dramatic. It is not the drama of the make believe, but one that stems from real life or drama at your doorstep. So, to speak, it is dramatic also in that it adds an artistic purpose to journalistic and sociological aims. Noted filmmaker John Grierson was the first to use the word documentary to describe creative treatment of actuality. Producers of documentary, whether on radio, television, or film, generally learn to expect a lot of violent criticism. This is because documentary goes beyond a news broadcast and deals with not just what is happening, but also why it is happening. Thus, documentary can be seen to raise controversies and encourage debate. In documentaries, the role of the writer and the role of the producer merge. The writer must know the process of production well and preferably be involved with it. Only rarely does a documentary script represent everything appears on the program. The writer producer of documentary has to depend greatly on spontaneous developments and improvisation in the field. Completely written documentaries were very common after Second World War, but over the years they have been largely replaced by the programs made on actual location, featuring actual happenings. If rigidly scripted, radio documentary tends to sound staged and it hardly ever very excited. So now I will be discussing some key characteristics of radio documentaries. Research and investigation. Documentaries involve extensive research and investigation to gather information, conduct interviews, and explore multiple perspectives. Documentaries aim to provide a comprehensive and well rounded understanding of the subject matter. Narration and interviews. Documentaries combine narration with interviews and audio clips to present information and viewpoints. Narrations provide context, transitions, and ties the various elements of the documentary together. Expert insights. Story arc. Radio documentaries often follow a story arc or narrative structure, taking listeners in-depth analysis. Documentaries dive deep into the subject matter, offering analysis, historical context, and expert insights. They aim to provide a comprehensive examination of the topic, often shedding light on lesser known aspects or challenging prevailing narratives. Radio features and documentaries offer a valuable platform for storytelling, education, and exploration of complex topics. They provide listeners with an opportunity to gain a deeper understanding of subjects that may not be covered in regular news updates. Since writers and producers of documentary deal with facts, they must develop techniques for discovering what the facts are. Research depends a great deal on the resources that are available. Research may either be conducted by an individual or a large organization, depending on the resources available. In India, writers for documentary are usually left to their own devices for research. He or she has to access her or himself to all the information that can possibly be got or is required for the program production. In documentary production, there are very few things worse than weak research. Before going out with the tape recorder, some basic research must be completed. There are three main sources of research. First, library. This does not just mean looking up whatever there is in library, but also what is called figurative literature. There are mostly unpublished sources of information available with non-governmental organizations and voluntary agencies working in that area. Second, consultation with subject experts, those who are well acquainted with the issue. If, for instance, one has to make a documentary or a water barrage being built, it is not enough to talk to people involved with the building of it, but also those affected by it. In this instance, it could be tribals who may be displaced because of the barrage. Therefore, they too are subject experts. Perhaps a better term of use than subject expert is resource people. Third, it is important to conduct location research. This involves visiting the actual location and conducting a first hand survey of what is happening. Chief among the tools that a writer for documentary needs is mastery of the art of writing narration. This, of course, does not mean that a documentary has to have narration, but it is only the very rare documentary that does away with narration completely. In documentaries, the narration should ideally be written after the program has been edited, since it's only then that the writer knows that material needs narrative support. If the narration is written before the final edited program, it runs the risk of being superfluous and redundant. Narration can reinforce the effect of program in number of ways. It can clarify, emphasize, or interpret what else is being said and heard. In providing explanations, the writer must be toe the tired line between saying too much and saying too little. Unnecessary narration not only clutters a documentary but insults the intelligence of the audience. Narration may also provide an interpretation which enriches the contribution of taped expert. It also helps make transitions from one idea to another. The audience can be told where they are and where they will be going. Narration is effective for presenting the basic ideas of the script, for defining its attitude and summarizing its conclusions. Finally, narration may enhance the emotional quality of the tapes insert. How to organize the documentary? The documentary, since it is usually has a specific message to communicate, must be organized in order to be clear and effective. Structure, the sequence of presentation is very important. There are no hard and fast rule about structure, and media professionals constantly experiment with it. In the early days of documentaries, structures were rigid and standardized. A common one was the problem solution structure. In this case, a certain problem would be taken up, propounded, discussed, and then a solution would be proposed. Since then, structures have undergone a change. Producers and writers are no longer compelled to solve problems. Some documentaries are simply articulation of problems, so you can see that structures are not formalized. Nevertheless, a writer cannot neglect structure because content is conveyed, not just through words, but the structure as well. Take the novel Chronicle of Death, foretold by Gabriel Garcia Marquez uses the device of an unnamed shadowy narrator visiting the scene of the killing many years later and beginning an investigation into the past. The book and its narrator probe slowly, painfully through the mist of half accurate memories, equivocations, contradictory versions, trying to establish what happened and why, and achieve only provision's answer. Developing the ideas. The first step in outlining your material is to determine the basic purpose of your script. You may want to arouse concern about a specific social problem or political issue. Convince people to accept an idea or develop a certain attitude, reinforce an existing attitude, or motivate your audition to carry out a specific course of action. The next step is to develop a preliminary statement of the central idea of the program. It should be one sentence expression of what your program wants to communicate. This statement may also include the basic purpose of the program. Thus, the purpose and central idea can be expressed as follows: to convince the audience that capital punishment is wrong. Next, you should write down the main ideas and the supporting ideas and make their relationship very clear. As you write down this material, you should ask, what are the main points of my program? What are the subordinate points? What is clearly and supporting material? The responses of these questions will guide you in setting down the outline. Once all your points are down, you will find a pattern emerging. The pattern can be in chronological order, a problem solution order, or any other order. To establish an organizational plan, you should keep the following in mind. Write the outline in complete sentences. Incomplete sentences or single words are usually manifestations of vague ideas and muddled feelings, nor will it reveal whether the variation ideas in the script are related at all. Restrict the number of main points to a reasonable number. Most good programs have no fewer than two main points or no more than five. You must check to see that the transitions are done well. Avoid the use of compound or multiple idea sentences and express points as positive statements. Documentaries combine narration with interviews and audio clips to present information and viewpoints. Radio documentaries often follow a story arc or narrative structure, taking listeners on a journey from introduction to climax and resolution. Documentaries dive deep into the subject matter, offering analysis, historical context, and expert insights.